that's my foot to the floor.
No way.
I take back everything that I said. I was very arrogant.
Typical BMW drivers, eh?
I'm in limp mode. If you're going to get rid of the EGR, you really do need to do something about the DPF. That's the thing that gets all clogged up. We're at the stage now where the car is put back together. Obviously we cleaned out the DPF. I removed the EGR a while back, so there's still a fault code showing for that. So what we now need to do is plug the car in. I'm gonna get the tuner to go over like what's going on, how it's done, and what exactly the computer is doing to the car. And then we're gonna see what power gains we can get, but I'm not going all out power. Because this is the daily, I still want it to be reliable. I don't want to slip in clutch, for example. I wanna have good miles per gallon as well. So hopefully we can get a good mix of both. So we're connecting up the jump leads at the moment as we're plugging the computer in. So it's got like backup power.
So basically what it is when we're remapping the car, we have to maintain a solid, stable battery.
Yes.
Cars do have good batteries, but just in case we hook up another battery like my car, where I can maintain a steady voltage of like 13.5 volts.
Sweet, yeah.
So when the car's getting mapped, any little discrepancy in that voltage, if the battery gets too low, the ECU does brick.
Right.
And then we need to take out the ECU and we've got to bench it and
that's a pain.
recover it. It is a pain, so this is a good little safety measure that we put in place.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with Abs. He runs downshift remaps. At the moment, I want it a bit more poke, but also a bit better on fuel as well. So coming down here, I took a picture of the miles per gallon, which I'll put on the screen now. And then later on tonight, once this car's had a bit of a drive, we'll see if the miles per gallon changes a bit. So at the moment, the car is stock, as in the ECU is standard. So we'll find out in a bit how we get it running perfect again. So now that the DPF has been cleaned out and the EGR has been deleted and the car's throwing up fault codes everywhere, how do we fix that?
What we do now is we reprogram the ECU for it to not throw up those fault codes. So the reason why your car went into limp mode earlier was because your DPF was blocked.
Yes.
The car sensed that the DPF was blocked and it threw up a P code, a DTC.
Yeah.
When that specific DTC crops up, the car is programmed to think that's a safety issue, I want to go into limp mode. So now that we've taken care of the DPF and the EGR properly, we are now going to reprogram the car for it to never throw them specific fault codes up, therefore your car won't go into limp mode. So in a way you're sort of tricking the car to think everything's okay. If you noticed earlier, your car was running a little bit rich because it's not been programmed to think everything's okay, so it's just running as normal. Now what we're going to do is we're going to reprogram the car with the DPF and the EGR off, and we're going to put in the stage 1 power / eco.
Yeah, nice.
Running richness will sort of go, the little bit of a black smoke will also go.
So when people mess with the DPFs and the EGRs, do you recommend always getting it mapped out?
Oh, absolutely, because if you don't, some cars will just force regen. So as you're driving the car on the motorway or anywhere, you'll just see loads of black smoke coming out. Right. You might get your coil lights flashing, car will be in limp mode, not going above 2000 RPM. And that's because obviously you've deleted the DPF, the filter, but how it works is you've got a filter and then you've got a sensor before and after it.
Okay.
So how the car measures if the DPF is blocked or not is it looks at the pressure before the filter and it measures the pressure after the filter and it works out how much air is actually coming through it.
Right.
So if there's less air coming through or a certain amount of air coming through, it assumes the DPF is blocked. It will reduce its power because it's a safety thing, because if you don't, you're forcing more air to go through. That will then cause back pressure on your engine, your turbo, and then it can blow up.
You could do some serious damage.
Yeah, you could do some very serious damage.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do need to
definitely worth getting
map
done.
them out.
Yeah.
So if you look here, for example, we've got an EGR fault code at the moment. This is obviously we're using VCDS to see all the fault codes in the engine module, and at the moment we've only got the EGR fault code come up. That's because obviously we've disconnected the EGR, we've deleted it completely. At the moment the DPF hasn't been registered yet because we haven't driven it. We've just literally
parked it up,
and that's it. Normally after about 20-30 miles of driving, the car will start to register that there's something wrong with the DPF, the pressures between the two sensors, and then the car will go into limp mode and you'll start regenning, you'll just cause loads of problems.
So what's the next step then?
So now we're gonna flash in the tuned file. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have DPF off, EGR off, and the power and eco. That will take about 10-15 minutes, and then we should be good to go.
All right.
We'll go for our first one.
Sweet. So now this is sending over the file to the car. So it's telling the car, okay, this is a new.
This is a new file. So now this is the part where we reprogram the car for more power. We've adjusted the fueling, the turbo, deleted the DPF and the EGR from the system. Once this is uploaded into the car, we shouldn't get any fault codes,
Yep.
and we should start feeling that power when we go on a little test run.
Sweet.
It does take about 5-10 miles for it to all kick in,
Yeah.
but you should start noticing after a few pulls.
All right. Yeah.
Notice
Cool.
some power. Alright, so that's all done. What we're going to do is we're going to go road test to see the power, do a few data runs. We're going to look at boost pressure, we're going to look at the fueling, look at any turbo spikes, just to make sure that the map's running safe with the car, really.
All right. So along with this map, like a bit of an increase in power, a bit of an increase in fuel economy, there was the option to go for something a little bit crazy, a little bit more fun, which is a popcorn limiter. I don't know an awful lot about this, but it just makes the rev limiter kind of bounce a bit quicker. I've been told if I was to do anything more to the exhaust on this car, it's going to make it just sound better. So the more I do to it, the better it's going to sound. But yeah, I think whenever you're ready, we'll give it a try. And I can hear it just sounds muffled. It needs that free-flowing exhaust, doesn't it?
That's it. So the next step for you would be you'd need to ideally a free flow exhaust from the cap back.
Yeah.
So remove the little middle silencer, so the little resonator,
Yeah.
and the back two mufflers. Ideally, you want to put two free flowing rear mufflers that are
Yeah.
still straight pipe, but it's got depth
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
exhaust, so
yeah.
it gives you that more bass.
Yeah.
Personally, on these cars, on a diesel, surprisingly, a Scorpion exhaust system is the one to go for this.
Scorpion.
Scorpion.
I'll have to look it up then.
Have a look into it. It's
Yeah, I
well
will.
worth it.
100%. You can hear that already.
Yeah. If you see a good gap, give it a bit of boost. Just to open it up slowly. You don't want to overwork it straight away because you'll start popping into cooler hoses and everything. So
third gear pull.
third gear pull. You want to get into third gear, 2000 RPMs. Right, is that 2000?
Yep.
A bit lower. Right, ready, steady, go. Just full throttle. All the way to red line till it cuts off itself. There you go.
That was it.
That's it. Yeah, right. Third gear.
2K.
Let's go.
Just as Ab said, we took the car on a few runs to log the data that he mentioned, and for once the result came back pretty good. Yeah, fueling was okay, and the expected boost pressure was mainly okay. There was a teeny, tiny, super tiny anomaly in the runs showing the boost graphs. At roughly the same RPM, there's a slight drop in boost, but it's so small that you wouldn't notice it unless you had the two graphs side by side and on top of each other like this. And the two graphs shown are from expected boost pressure and actual boost pressure. And the sensor that's reading this data is before the intake manifold, which means that this could be start of a leak in some of the boost pipes or intercooler pipes from anywhere from before the intake manifold. I know where to start looking if I need to. The more I do to this car, the more I love it. The car has been mapped. Is it worth it? This was 170 brake horsepower. It's now probably around 190 or 200. But I can feel a major difference. The way it pulls all the way through the rev range, just ignoring the first 2000 RPM, because nothing happens until 2000. And then 2000, the boost kicks in, and there's a strong pull all the way up to redline. Whereas before it would kind of die down at about 4K. I've taken it on a few drives, and Avs is right, the power did get more and more. Yeah, I think it's now settled at this nice kind of power stage, but it definitely pulled stronger a few days later. But this was the miles per gallon that I got on the way home. It was very similar sort of traffic. If you remember from when the car was up on the ramps, I had a look at the engine mount on the bottom, and it was like cake. It was completely gone. what I've now got is a Powerflex replacement for it. I'm fairly certain these engine mounts are called different things on every single engine. It's like on the Golf, the common lower engine mount was the dog bone mount, which is the one that you replace. And on this car it's called a snub nose mount. And it looks like this. Big old mount type thing. It's just like a circle with a hole through the middle really. That's apparently a really easy change. I'll probably do it at the beginning of the next video where we're working on this car. But I'm going to take it for a proper drive. I'll probably do a POV finally of this car in the next video. But I do need to replace that engine mount before doing anything, because when I try and do things like launches, not that I can really launch this car, but if I do try and put my foot down in first gear, the whole car shakes, and I hope that it's that engine mount. Big shout out to Abs for taking his time to go through everything. I can notice that slight boost leak now. It's just after 3K, it kind of dies down a little bit. So I'm going to do some hunting. Hopefully it doesn't get any worse. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be boosting this thing around all the time. If there is ever a time where I need to gap some Ford Fiesta, I think I'm a bit happier now. It can do that now. The car is finally clean. I finally cleaned it. All the salt that was on the roads is now finally off the car. But I promise, in the next video, I'm going to install that and then we're going to go on a drive. I've also got the Corrado out. Gave that clean today as well before this, and there's a few things wrong with it. It's got a squeaky front wheel. Every time the wheel revolves it goes like a proper and it's idling weirdly. I have a feeling that's just because I haven't actually driven it yet. I'm hoping when I drive it the idling will sort itself out, but if not, it's probably like the PCV system again. Hate that, but you need it. It is good. I've looked into it, I've done my research. I'm probably going to keep it. I just need to refresh the hoses because they're probably split. But apart from that, I think we're good with the Corrado. The oil cooler works. Like it works really well. I'm actually really happy with myself that I managed to do all of that, changing all them seals and everything. Doesn't look like there's much leaking out of it. I don't think there's, I don't want to jinx it, I don't think there's any leaks now. Again, I haven't driven it. I've literally just driven it up the drive and back. We'll check that out in the next video, but guys, I'm going to leave you here. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want to see more Audi videos. Check out the Corrado videos as well. Everything I've been doing to that, get up to scratch with it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.